Have you ever heard people say that it's kind of good luck when a bird drops a deuce on you? I don't know exactly where this came from, but for me, being lucky is like, I don't know, maybe winning the lottery, not getting bird poop on my brand new shirt. That's just not cool. It's definitely not lucky. A pigeon once kind of did that to me, but could you imagine if it was like a giant bald eagle or something like that? My entire outfit probably would have been ruined. I wonder if that like means I would be even luckier because the deuce was bigger. I don't know. People are definitely weird and have a very interesting take on things. But anyways, all jokes aside, in today's video, we're doing another top 5. I'm gonna get a bunch of random hate in the comment section, just like I did in my previous video. I don't know, just people didn't like my opinion, they didn't like my take, but we're going to do it again anyways. So as I clarified in the previous video, and I'm going to do it again, this is my personal opinion, my personal take. These are the top 5 most underrated Marvel Legends action figures out there, and this is part 2. So if you missed part 1, don't forget to check it out, because there may be some figures on that list that are not in this one. So as always, if you guys enjoy this type of content, make sure to stay tuned, because we do upload this type of random nonsense pretty consistently. Also, don't forget to let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. What are your top 5 most underrated Marvel Legends? Without wasting any more saliva and any more of your precious time, let's get straight into number 5. And this one is a little bit cliche, but I had to include it. We're putting the anniversary Hulk and Wolverine 2-pack Hulk. This is, I believe, the original one, if I'm not mistaken. Eventually they would reuse that body incessantly, and I've said it before, I think they've beaten that particular body mold to death. Now at the moment of it being released, it was a little bit groundbreaking. We got those beautiful reverse butterfly joints. The sculpt looked phenomenal, and the ankles were absolutely top notch. You can get it into some really crazy poses, and it came with a couple of extra hands, as well as like a ribbed jacket, or I guess a lab coat on top of the Hulk figure, which for the life of me I could not find, but it just displayed incredibly well. I absolutely love it, as I said before, just because it has been reused and used over and over. I don't think that it deserves the type of hate that a lot of people give it. It's just a good solid body mold, and unfortunately Hasbro has decided to use it a little bit too much for my taste. Now they could retool this, like maybe sculpt in the pins, so it could be like a pinless action figure. They could also go all out with the butterfly joints. I know at the moment this body mold only has the reverse butterfly joints, but if they want to cut away at the sculpt and get even crazier with the articulation, they could do that as well. The single jointed elbows, again, kind of limited the figure. I get it, it's bigger, it's beefy, but we kind of expect, you know, a little bit better in terms of that, especially with modern day technology. I'm going to assume that Hasbro will find a way to kind of like revamp this body mold, but it still stands as one of the best Marvel Legends Hulk action figures, and just in general, it's like one of the best deluxe version, style version action figures from Hasbro, and I think it easily deserves to be in the 5th spot for today's list. At the 4th spot, we have the Iron Man Model 70 action figure. This is somewhat of an interesting figure, not really a classic design for Iron Man either. If I'm not mistaken, this is from like the early 2000s. That's when the suit made its first appearance in comic book form. But I genuinely enjoyed this figure. Really good articulation. I know you don't usually expect that with a lot of these Iron Man figures, but this one was definitely very surprising. It not only included a couple of the repulsor effect pieces, but it also included some like swirly wind effect pieces that could be ported on to like the forearms or the legs as well. It kind of added a lot more presence in your display. Not only that, it did have some soft plastic around the shoulder area, so it really helped, like I said, with the articulation. Double jointed knees, double jointed elbows. Definitely not one of the more classic designs, but it's one of those figures that fell under the radar for quite some time. Not only that, I was actually able to find this one for about like $8 to $9 at a local store. I can't remember exactly where. It could have been like a Ross or a Target. The figure was getting an insane amount of disrespect. If I remember correctly, it also had some really soft plastic around the thigh area, that yellow overlay like armor piece. It really helped with the articulation, because if it would have been a hard plastic, the range of motion for the legs would have been hindered. So it was just kind of like the smaller little things like that. It wasn't anything big. The figure wasn't groundbreaking by any stretch, but just the small little things, the small little changes that they made to the body mold, I think were a huge difference. And for me personally, it's a massively underrated figure, and for the longest time you could probably pick it up for like $10 to $12 at your local GameStop or your Walmart or Target on sale. Maybe by now it's gone up a little bit, but it's still one of the most affordable Iron Mans that you can get out there, and it's still a phenomenal figure for sure. Remember when I said I was going to double dip with the Hulk 2-pack? Well, I'm doing it here because we're looking at the Wolverine for that particular 2-pack, and that is the first appearance Wolverine. For those people that are big, comic book collectors, you'll be very familiar with this appearance because it's one of the most sought after first appearances. There's always that Hulk 180 versus Hulk 181 argument where, in my personal opinion, the first appearance is Hulk 180, but it doesn't matter because Hulk 181 goes for thousands of dollars graded. It is one of the more sought after. Wolverine has always been, a very hot commodity, a very hot character in the comic book community, and to actually be able to own one in action figure form was just an absolute dream. Now, obviously, the technology, the articulation, the joints, they can be upgraded, and I kind of hope that Hasbro decides to update that body mold because it is definitely old. You can see a lot of the articulation being extremely hindered and just not great all around, but it is one of the most iconic looks. It is one of the most iconic action figures I think that we've ever received, along with that Hulk, and it had pretty decent value. I think it was like $60 for this 2-pack. I think I ended up pre-ordering it at like GameStop when I used to pre-order stuff at GameStop, and I know it's a matter of personal perspective which Wolverine is the best, right? Some people like him in the X-Men outfit, some people like him in the brown suit, some people like the X-Force suit. I mean, it just depends. The gray and black, it's just a matter of which look you prefer, but this is still one of the most underrated figures. I think if you go online, you probably might be able to find it like loose if you're not interested in the 2-pack for maybe like $30 to $40. Not too bad. It's like I said, if you're looking for the first edition, the first version of Wolverine, this is exactly what you need. And honestly, I don't really hear a lot of people talking about it. Doesn't get a lot of respect. It's definitely one of the most underrated Marvel Legends out there. Let's move on to the second spot on today's list, where we have the Marvel Legends Cyborg Spider-Man action figure. Kind of a really interesting take. This is an alternate version of Peter Parker, obviously. If I'm not mistaken, he was featured in a tiny little run when they were doing the whole multiverse stuff in the comic books, I think way back like in 2014, and then he got killed off that same year. Again, I'm going off of memory, but if I'm pretty sure that he didn't really make it out of his universe. He eventually got killed off. But as I've said before, don't judge an action figure based on the source material, even though this was kind of like an offshoot of Peter Parker and it didn't really have a huge fan support. The figure itself is really well done. It seems more like a kit bash, if anything, from Hasbro. And I'm sure that a lot of this stuff is reused. Like maybe that arm was reused from a certain X-Men character, which will remain unnamed. But you know who I'm talking about. Same thing with the belt. I think maybe was reused from another figure. But they put it together extremely well. That head sculpt is just absolutely phenomenal. The arm obviously hinders articulation a little bit, but overall it did come with like an extra hand, so you were able to get the web swinging or the web shooting hand in there, as well as a fisted hand, although obviously the fisted hand just displays way better. The figure was just phenomenally done. It was something that I did not expect, something completely out of left field. Nobody really talks about this figure, and if I'm not mistaken, it was a Target exclusive and it retailed for like, I don't know, 20-25 bucks. It's definitely not like the greatest Spider-Man figure of all time, but it's just really well crafted and it's a unique take on Peter Parker. Definitely stands out in anybody's display. Before we get into today's top spot, don't forget to check out our playlists. We usually try to kind of group all of the videos within a specific series. For example, we have like the top 5 most expensive Marvel Legends lists. So if you guys are interested in stuff like that, you guys can always check out that particular playlist or any of our other ones up on the channel. That is, if you guys enjoy my ramblings. If you don't, what can I say? It's a lot of this. Anyways, let's get straight into the top spot for today's video. We're looking at the Gamerverse Armadillo Build-A-Figure Marvel Legends Miles Morales. And if you guys couldn't tell, it is definitely one of my favorite figures. I'm always featuring him. I'm always posing him, doing little short clips here and there. I just absolutely love it. If I remember correctly, it came with like an insane amount of hands. It came with like fisted hands, web shooting hands, and then the electricity effect hands, as well as an unmasked head sculpt. The articulation on this was phenomenal. Double jointed knees, double jointed elbows, swivels, phenomenal ab crunch, beautiful butterfly joints. And then it also came with that new pinless technology, which, if I'm not mistaken, this wasn't like the first figure to get the pinless articulation, but it was one of like the first few, like, I don't know, 10 to 12 figures. So it was kind of a big deal. I know it gets a little bit lost in the shuffle just because it is a video game action figure, and for some unknown reason the video game action figures just never get any love. And I'll be brutally honest, like a lot of the suits for the video game Spider-Man action figures are not very good. Like, I completely bashed the MK, I completely bashed the Velocity suit, but this particular Miles Morales is just beautifully done. I absolutely love this figure. You can get it into some really crazy poses, and not only did it come with a crazy amount of accessories, but it also came with a Build-A-Figure piece. Usually when these figures come with a lot of extra accessories, it's usually like a one-off figure, or it is technically a part of a wave, but it doesn't contain a Build-A-Figure piece. But they went all out with this particular figure. I absolutely love it. I think originally it retailed for like $20. I know they have a newer version, but to me this is the must-have, the go-to Miles Morales, at least up to this point. I do have the Into the Spider-Verse and a couple of others, but this is hands down just the best Miles Morales action figure out there. I know it's based on something too specific and it may turn a lot of people away from the figure, but as I said with a couple of previous entries, sometimes you have to forget about the source material. Just look at the figure for what it is. Is it worth picking up? Does it give you chills? Does it make you want to pose it and just have fun with it? If that's the case, it's definitely a figure that belongs in your display. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. I know I tend to ramble and just get off the rails a little bit, but that's just what you get when you put a microphone in front of me. But hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you guys do, make sure to stay tuned. We're always uploading stuff like this, and not to mention, check out our playlist, check out our older content. We have a ton of different videos that are just about random Marvel Legends or DC Multiverse or whatever is trending at the moment. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And if you guys do, don't forget to let me know down below, what are some of the most underrated Marvel Legends action figures out there in your personal opinion? Very curious to see what everybody has to say. So as always, make sure to stay safe out there, and the most important part of all this, make sure you enjoy the hobby. Stay safe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.